And there's three skills that employers are identifying that it seems like today's graduates are lacking more than others. It's interpersonal skills, communication skills, and social skills. So not the hard science skills. It's not that lacking physiology knowledge or training knowledge or assessment knowledge. It's those softer skills, just communication, social skills, just being able to interact with other people. Personal training, even if you do it temporarily, is a great vehicle for just learning how, for just developing those skills, those communication skills, those softer social skills in a one-on-one environment. If you can be a great personal trainer, you can almost become a great anything in the field of kinesiology, really. So something to think about. So I had the opportunity to do that as well. Let me make sure I get through a lot of this stuff here.
Don't worry, you can take the extra time.
Sure, I'll go into either one.
Mine has a lot of range. I can go
Okay.
short.
All right. That's fine. But yes, I was doing all these things, all these diverse things, right? High performance, personal training, occupational fitness testing. And I was loving every minute of it, but I was coming to the end of the program. Like it was fourth year, I had to graduate, go into the real world, as they say. But I didn't really want it to end. I wanted to stick and keep learning and being involved with this type of stuff. This is what I really was interested in, just more being ground zero, administering the service, the practical aspect of it. So when I started researching fourth year different graduate programs, I came across this one, which is also offered at York, called the Master of Fitness Science, MFSC. It is a non-thesis degree. So I looked at this and I thought, well, I had to sit down and really think about, what am I trying to get into here? Because there's thesis options, there's non-thesis options. And a lot of people ask me, why did you do a thesis option? Well, I knew that I didn't really want to pursue a career in research. I was less interested in being the person who develops the knowledge and furthers the knowledge. I was more interested in being the person who consumes the knowledge and tries to use it and administer it out in the field. That's what I was more interested in. So when I came across this degree, this graduate degree, and I literally read the description, it was just, that was it. I'll just read it to you. It's just that one little part right there. The Masters of Fitness Science degree involves coursework and extensive practical experience. Once I read the extensive practical experience, I was sold. To prepare students for a variety of professional careers, including health promotion, sport and occupational fitness applications, and exercise management for persons with chronic disease. And it involved extensive lab and field work. So that was it. It was a done deal. I had already been working with the person, the supervisor who was running this degree, Dr. Veronica Jatnick. So she accepted me, she agreed to take me on, and I was in this program now. The biggest thing that I was exposed to in this program that I really enjoyed the most was being a TA, teaching. This was my first exposure to actually teaching. So I was a TA for KIN 1020. I think everybody in this room has taken 1020, first year of fitness assessment and health course. I TA'd the lab component. First day, first class that I ever did it for sure. I was petrified and scared. There was like 30 people in the room. I felt like I was the same age almost as all of them, so it felt awkward being in front of the classroom. But just the feeling of just being in the room and just facilitating learning and just seeing learning happen, it was intoxicating. I loved it, and I was addicted to that, just the feeling of being in the classroom and just facilitating learning. And that was my first kind of exposure to teaching. And from that point on, I always had just the profession of teaching at the back of my mind, being a TA. But aside from just TAing, obviously there was more work as a graduate student. So taking courses, one of the projects that were taking place during the time that I was a master's student was something called the prepaid project. Prepaid, no, it doesn't mean that we took money first and then but the prepaid is an acronym for Pre-Diabetes Physical Activity Intervention Delivery Project. I'm not sure who came up with the name, pretty good name, but I'll explain a little bit. This was the team that was involved with our project. Drs. Michael Riddell, you probably maybe had him for something. That's Veronica Jatnick, my master supervisor. Chip is a PhD student here. Me and one of my former lab mates. Another person who was involved in this project, who's not in the picture, but was one of the leading individuals, is Paul Ritvo, popular guy in this room, I know, supervising a multitude of graduate students here. So this team, what this prepaid project entailed, it was basically a community outreach program. It was health promotion in nature, and it's a small description of it right here. The goal of the program was to identify individuals who were at the highest risk of developing type 2 diabetes. And much research has shown that there are specific cultural populations, for example, Chinese, South Asian, African, Caribbean, who they're at highest risk for developing type 2 diabetes. And the goal was to get to them, target, and provide some form of health education, fitness, and exercise information. One location that this project was delivered out of was a place called Black Creek Community Health Center. I think the last guest speaker actually works here, right? So you might have heard of Black Creek Community Health Center. Basically a not-for-profit, multidisciplinary organization that delivers services covering a wide range of just health and overall wellness to just a very diverse group of people. That picture on the bottom right is not Black Creek, but it's part of the program that Black Creek offers. So this is me just basically running a group exercise class for the residents at this building. So just to kind of connect the story here, the prepaid project, one of the satellite sites for it was at Black Creek Community Health Center. So I was involved with kind of delivering and working with the people who were at high risk for developing type 2 diabetes, but I was approaching the end of my master's now, close to this, and the project was still going on, but I was graduating. But at the same time that this was going on, Black Creek had established something pretty innovative. It was called, they called it the Exercise Education Room. It was an exercise education component that they had at this community health center, which I think was the first and only community health center to have exercise and physical activity as part of their overall just kind of health promotion plan. But the true mastermind behind this when I was at Black Creek was another famous face probably for a lot of the grad students here is Mr. Noah Wang, who was he was here, but doing his PhD work at Black Creek. And because I was graduating, he was also kind of starting up his study, and he was working with actual diagnosed type 2 diabetics, and he needed somebody to work with those patients. So I had the certification, I was a CEP, I was qualified to work with high-risk populations. So I was working with the participants from Noah's study, the type 2 diabetics, basically one-on-one. I was their exercise therapist, I guess, personal trainer for a diabetic in this situation. And as most innovative projects usually go, there's always funding challenges for programs that are elaborate, such as this. So what was happening? So I was graduated, this was my primary source of income. Noah was paying me through his research funding to help to deliver this service. But there were some challenges with the funding, and because this was my primary source of income, I had to start looking other places because gotta eat, got bills to pay. So, and they knew this, so I had to I was thinking about leaving, obviously, leaving Black Creek. But Noah, wonderful guy that he is, he wanted to keep me within the family, keep me on the team. He didn't want to let go of me yet because he knew he was going to get funding for the next phase of the study. So what happened was he told me about another project that was starting up. So he kind of put my name into the ear of one of his colleagues at the time, Daniel Santamina, probably another famous face for the graduate students here, who was doing his research work downtown across the city at Princess Margaret Hospital. So he was looking at the effect of exercise on health outcomes in prostate cancer patients. And he now needed somebody. It was almost kind of fairy tale timing. So this funding over here was running out, but then this project with Daniel was just about to start up. So it was kind of pretty good timing in that sense. He needed somebody to coordinate the research project. So this particular study that he was doing at this time, he was looking at the effect of group exercise versus personal training in improving health outcomes in prostate cancer patients. Is one better than the other? Group exercise versus personal training in terms of adherence and improving just the patient outcomes. But I was not the person who delivered the group exercise or the personal training. It was actually, Humber University students. This is the first kind of Humber connection now, getting to where I am pretty much now. But there's a course that third-year kinesiology students take at the University of Guelph, Humber, where they basically do some form of a field placement. So they were working with Daniel at Princess Margaret Hospital. They were the personal trainers and delivering the group exercise classes. And my job was more kind of, in this case, supervisory, just overlooking the whole program, making sure that participant safety was upheld and data entry and all that was being done the way it was supposed to. that was going on. That study was the summer of 2011. This is where we are now. The summer of 2011. This was one summer study. But when this study was over, again, I was out of work. But so somehow, this fairy tale timing, University of Guelph Humber was undergoing some serious expansion and exploding enrollment, and so was Humber College in their fitness programs. And they had a lot of fitness lab classes at University of Guelph Humber and Humber College. So they were looking to hire somebody who could run the labs. It was a brand new position at that institution. University of Guelph Humber and Humber College is basically the same place. We'll talk about that later as well. But, so this job posting came up for exercise sciences, laboratory technician, or lab tech as they called me. I applied, I had the exact skill set that they were looking for in terms of running their fitness labs. So somebody to just manage the assessment labs, so doing things like, you guys probably heard of metabolic carts and open circuit spirometry, basically the equipment that measures oxygen consumption used for VO2 max testing. Somebody to calibrate it, make sure that it's running properly, who can help with VO2 max testing, taking blood samples, making sure that the analyzers work, all that type of operational work. That was my main duty. But it just so happened that because enrollment numbers were exploding, they had this extra section of a college physiology course that they didn't have an instructor for, and I had a master's. So to teach at post-secondary, you need at least a master's for the college environment. So they asked me, would you be interested in teaching one physiology section? I was like, yeah, right, that's where I jumped on that right away, because I knew, remember at the back of my mind, I wanted to get back into teaching. That was the opportunity. So I was teaching one section of a physiology class. That was only 4 hours a week, and then the remaining 30 hours, I was their lab tech, running the labs. And that was for 2 years, so from 2011